Welcome back to an episode of the Kate Thurman Show. I'm your host, Kate Thurman, and we have the phenomenal Alretha Thomas with us. Alretha, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm really glad to be here and Happy New Year to you, Kate, and everyone out there in the audience. 2025 is going to be live out here.
It is. Happy New Year to you. I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you.
I was sitting here, I was talking to my husband about you. Everybody knows, you're on Tyler Perry show. Of course, I watched the show, been watching it for years, but that's not all you do. So when I was telling my husband, I was like, she's phenomenal. She's an author, she's a director, she's a producer, she's a player. I was telling all of your business, but can you give us some information? Because nobody can tell your business better than you can.
Well, first of all, I just want to say, I got to humble myself and just, first of all, give God the glory. Just, thank Him for my life. My husband and I, we have devotion in our home. We try to make it the first thing we do. We have a prayer room, where we pray and we read scripture and we give God thanks. I just believe in that because I know I wouldn't be sitting here today if it wasn't for the Creator, the Almighty, the ultimate Creator.
Amen.
But yes, I'm on the show. I'm just amazed that I'm on the show. I still pinch myself when I go to work and I see Naeem Lim, who is, on the comedy circuit and is really well known and is Kevin Hart's, right hand guy. And I see J. Anthony Brown, who had his own show and is a legend. Um, the David and Tamala Man, need I say anything about that? They're the stars of the show to me. Courtney Nicole, Chad, these people that have been doing this a long time. I'm just humbled to be able to work with them. And I just have to always thank Mr. Tyler Perry for giving me this opportunity. Mark Swinton, Derek Dusos is two of our directors, our casting, Kim Coleman casting. I remember when I auditioned for the role, it was during the pandemic. That's a God move right there. God likes to show up. He likes to show up in times when it's really difficult. I basically thought it was over for me because I had left the safety of my corporate job in 2016. And I asked my husband, I said, sweetie, if I could make it work, would you be okay with me leaving corporate America and going back into acting full time and writing? He was so gracious that he said, yes, if I can make it make sense. And I was able to financially make it make sense. And right when things were taking off, COVID hit. So it was over. Everything shut down.
Right.
Publishing shut down because I write books too. So publishing shut down, acting, the world shut down.
It did.
And I was just getting started. So I'm like, okay, what do I do now? And as we start coming out of COVID, I was reaching back to my old bosses, asking them for references because I was going to have to go back to work. I wasn't going to be able to make it. And lo and behold, that's when God stepped in and I got the audition for the role of Anastasia Devereaux. And when I read the description, I don't know why I thought about Felicia Rashad. The character was a little older than me and she's a beautiful woman. And I said, they're just going through the motions with this, having me read, but I know they probably got Felicia Rashad, on the list or someone else. And so when my agent called me and told me they were making an offer, I didn't even know what she was talking about because I had divorced myself from the process because I knew I wasn't going to get it. And I said, what offer? She said, oh, they're Tyler Perry Studios, they're making an offer for you to play the role of Anastasia Devereaux. And if the roof wasn't on this house good, it would have flew off.
Amen.
I was screaming and I just kept saying, it's God, it's God, it's God. And I was crying of joy. And the rest is history. And I feel really fortunate to be working, being a working actress, and being able to also write my books. But that's how I got there. And I'm gonna be quiet. You gotta make me be quiet, Kate, because I'm a talker and I can go. Let's hear a little bit about you, Miss Lady, because you told me this is gonna be a conversation.
It's
So
a
tell me
conversation.
about how you made your foray into having this platform and being able to talk and lift God up and lift women and men and everyone up. Tell me about you and how you
I
made
sure will. Well, as I was telling you backstage, I have the nonprofit. That's one of the businesses. I have the Kate Thurman show, the Graceful Gathering show. But the pride and joy is the nonprofit. Why is the pride and joy the nonprofit? It's because of what I went through. Last year, it's been about a year since I've been able to speak out, and I've been able to, be a voice and help others, because I was shy. I was always bullied, being picked on growing up. A girl used to hold my hand and behind my back, and a boy would punch me in my stomach every day on the way to school. So I grew up with that. I grew up with people telling me that nobody wanted to hear what I had to say. So I shut down. And still sometimes today, I do have triggers, but I know that's not of God. I know God is not the author of confusion. So a year ago, I joined this anthology, and it was She Said Yes to Herself, and I wrote a chapter, Walking in My True Divine Purpose. And
Mm.
but before I did this, I went to my mom and I asked my mom, would it be okay to talk about my story? She said, what you talking about? And I said, well, is it okay to talk about what you went through for me to get here? She said, what you think you know? Because when I was 5, I overheard her. And for a long time, it stayed with me. I never said anything to anyone because I didn't know what to do or what to say. In the book, in that chapter, I talk about it, and it's honestly, I'm writing a book, but it's taking me so long to release it because I'm just like, I'm still thinking about my kids. I even went to my husband and talked to my husband about it. But from all of that, in that year, I got remarried to my husband Chris, and what we also decided to do was going back to what I said originally. We started our nonprofit. Um, my kids and I, we had a house fire in 2019, 2 days after my birthday. Mind you, a couple of years before that, my sister died on my birthday. Then I had
Mm.
her 3 kids because she wanted me to get her 3 kids. I raised her 3 kids. 2 years, 3 years after that, yeah, it was 3 years after that. My house burned on May 30th. My birthday is May 28th. So I thought May was just a horrible month because a couple of years after that, my first mother-in-law died on May 30th. So
Oh my
that's
goodness.
we thought that, I thought that was a horrible
Well,
month.
it's so funny. May has been like my most fortunate month, so that's really odd. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
So, we started our nonprofit, Angelica Bliss, and we help families out of our pockets. So, when we started this, Chris and I talked because God gave us the vision. And we tell everybody this joke. We started with $5. So what that means is he said, well, babe, let's start a nonprofit. Because even when we were dating, I would tell him, I sent him a video of my son. He was acting out. I didn't post it because for me, that's not for the world. That was something he saw. We were coming from a store. He saw a man on the side of the road, and he was crying because he wanted to give that man more than what I had to give him at that time. We literally came home, emptied our piggy banks, pulled everything out of the pantry, and went back up there to give it to that man so my son would smile. And those are the things that we like to do. So we're getting with my husband, it was easy because he's a giver too. And he said, let's start with $5. I put $5 in a separate account and we can bless family. I said, baby, with $5, by the time we get enough money, we only gonna have one family a year.
Now remember Jesus and the Jews say Yeshua um, started with 5 loaves of bread.
That's
Five,
true.
that five is special.
It is. And but from that, we started Angelica Bliss. It's only been up and running for a year, but we're having our first gala March 1st. And we are really, really trying hard to make sure that the community knows we're here because we have programs underneath. I have had women empowerment luncheon for Faith Safe Haven because of what I've been through. Because I was also molested, I was also sexually assaulted, and because of what I went through, I know how it feels to suffer in silence. I couldn't tell nobody about that. The people that I did tell, some people looked at me sad sideways. Some people was like, well, even though you thought that person was your friend, I felt like it was my fault, basically.
Mhm.
And it's one of the things that led me to want to start that nonprofit, the Faith Safe Haven Women's Ministry, and Faith Safe Haven Men's Ministry is my husband's ministry. Well, we help men. Well, he helps men. get on the right path, get a relationship with God, and be there for their families, and give them a positive impact in life.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, we got a lot going on. So that's how we got here. And then we have our wonderful publicist Cyrus with we have Graceful Gatherings with the Thurmans, and now I have the Kate Thurman show. I think my husband's getting ready to start a show, and yeah, we're busy.
Doing God's work.
Yes.
You talked about being a giver, and I think that's really important. And you're blessed that you married someone that's a giver because my husband is a giver too. We're both givers,
Mhm.
and it's just really nice when you have someone that recognizes how blessed they've been. He and I think one of the most romantic things we did, one it was near Christmas. I think we were in LA, and not the most, I wouldn't say impoverished or poverty stricken area, but it was kind of leaning toward that. And we went into one of the supermarkets and we prayed on it,
Mhm.
and we were led to this gentleman, and we bought his groceries. And the gentleman turned around, and it was like over $200. And he turned around and he said, "You have no idea how you touched me. My mom, I just lost my mother.
Oh,
And so I'm struggling right now." So it was like we know that it was a God move.
wow. Hmm.
And I believe in that. I believe in giving back,
Yeah.
and the feeling that you get, and I don't believe in talking about it, like the Bible says, do your good deed in secret, and the Father will welcome you, will reward you openly. I only may mention it as an example, or if I'm telling a story,
Me
but
too.
I keep it to myself. But the beautiful thing about it is when you give, even when you give encouragement,
Yeah.
when you give a word, when you give a compliment, it's a visceral, physiological feeling that comes over you in that moment that is so powerful, and it's such a great feeling.
Yeah.
It's like, it makes me think that that is so what we're supposed to be doing, because that's an amazing feeling. And I don't get that feeling doing anything else but what I give. And especially
Yes.
if I give to a stranger, when I
Uh-huh.
give to a stranger, it's this feeling that comes over you and you're like lifted. And it's so
Hmm.
God is in that moment. He's
Hmm.
in spiritually.
Yeah, you feel good about it. It's your heart just feels like
It's like it's a feeling you can't describe it. It's
right, right. And both my husband and I, we get that way. Even the kids. My daughter's like that too.
And
Sometimes,
that's beautiful that you're raising them to be philanthropic, that you're raising them to see the people around them, the world outside of them, and where they can contribute. And it doesn't take a lot. The woman in church that Jesus saw when she gave the little mite, and people were looking, and the other ones were trying to show out because they had a lot of money. And it was like hers was worth far more because it was all she had.
it's
So it doesn't take a lot.
it doesn't. And to give a little from you is a tremendous amount to someone else, no matter what it is, whether it's advice, whatever it is. I think that those of us that are givers, it is a true calling from God.
It
Because
is.
you it's it you know how we can't describe the feeling that we have when we
When
give.
you do it, when you give, yeah.
It because it's from God. It's
Yeah,
not something we wake up in the morning and
you
say, "Well,
can't
let me
label it or
smile on
describe
people."
it.
That's not what we do. It's
True.
a God given feeling that we have, and only God knows how fulfilled we feel to sit here and be able to give back. To give back. Chris and I, we sit here, and sometimes we would call our daughter just to say, "Hey, we get excited when someone lets us know that they need help because we feel like this is what we're supposed to do." And
Yeah,
sometimes we will match out of our own pocket what we give and say,
yeah,
give that too. And I'm just like, wow, so they get double sometimes. And I appreciate you saying that because I do try to raise them up. And it
mm,
feels good when they on Christmas or during in December when they rather get their clothes and shoes and we go underneath the bridge and we feed the homeless and
that's
we give,
nice.
we give them clothes. It feels good to us. I don't do a lot of Christmas like I used to in terms of buying them stuff because I want them to give especially when you've been in that situation, you know how it feels to not have anyone to be there to give you anything.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I'm so excited to have you here. I want to talk about how you got started too.
Well, I can relate to you about the things that happened to you in childhood. I had situations similar, like you, the same thing, and abuse, physically abused and all of that. And my mom was very sickly. I lost my mom when I was 14. She was only 36. She succumbed to asthma, and that was a very difficult period in my life. We're talking about this feeling when you lose a parent, especially when you lose a mother. It's indescribable. I remember what happened. I felt like I was disconnected from the universe, like I was just floating, like I
Mhm.
didn't have a base. Luckily for me, my mom had introduced me to a preacher, and I was going to their church, and so I had accepted Christ and I had gotten baptized. They called me Bible girl in high school. So after my mom passed, I moved to Compton to live with my mom's dad and my grandmother. And my two siblings, they came along with us. My other siblings were not in the home. Some were out grown, and my brother was with his father. But it was a very difficult year, and you can imagine starting high school, 14, that's a difficult age. Because when you're 14, you think you're grown, but then
Yeah.
you're not grown. That's that crossover, and it's very confusing.
Yeah.
But I have to say, God got me through that first year of high school, and I ended up graduating second in my class, and I
Hmm.
got scholarships to go to USC, and I wanted to be a journalist because I thought about Barbara Walters and Oprah Winfrey, and there were some local journalists that I saw, and I tried for a long time to get a job. I went to Bakersfield. I was even having meetings over the phone or emailing the news director in Alaska. I was willing to go to Alaska. That's how badly I want to work. But when there's a recession, nobody's leaving their jobs. And that's how you usually make that. You do it. You climb your way from the small market into the larger New York and LA markets, but no one was leaving. So I had to get a job. I had to eat. And
Hmm.
I started working office work and dabbling in modeling. And then the trauma from my childhood, I started acting that out, and I got anorexia and bulimia, and I was struggling and doing things I shouldn't. And so I realized I needed to step back. So I started dabbling in modeling and acting, and
Hmm.
did some acting jobs in the mid '80s. But my spiritual and emotional health was more important. And I
Yeah.
stepped back and got back in church, got back with God, but and start working. And I ended up working in corporate America for over 20 years. But while I was working, I was writing plays, producing plays, writing books. I was still connected to the industry in that way. And as I opened this interview with kind of leading back into that, I did that until 2016 when I decided to come back full time, because the other times I was working full time jobs and
Under.
doing this, and my husband was on the highways and byways with me, and we were producing plays. Like we did a play um, with Kalita Smith called One Woman, Two Lives in 2009, and she was nominated for an NAACP
Mhm.
Theater Award. And Denise Dowse, who has since gone on to be with the Lord, God bless her soul, was
Yes.
our director. Billy Mayo was in it. He since has transitioned. God
Okay.
bless him. So it was a great play. Kalita was awesome in it. And I wrote and produced it, and that was a dream, and it was amazing. And 2 years ago, I did a play, Mommy and Clyde. My director won an NAACP Theater Award by Renora. My cast, Courtney Nicole, Jamal Gardner, Melvin Ward, and Janessa Morgan, they all won they were nominated for Best Ensemble,
Mhm.
NAACP Theater Best Ensemble. So I've been blessed to be able to create and see my works presented. And it's nothing like seeing your words, people up on a stage saying your words. It's phenomenal. It's just
Yeah.
awesome. Doing a new play this year called, I don't want to give the title away yet, but I'm
Okay.
in it. I haven't been on stage in 30 years. I'm in it. I'm starring in it with another young woman. I'm calling her young. We're young at
That's
heart.
right.
Marlene Cooley, she's in it. We're playing best friends, and there are two other people. Heather Daughtry, she's playing my daughter, and the fourth role has not been cast yet. But
Okay.
that's going to be coming to the stage about two women that grew up together and are best friends. and they did everything together. Married, got married at the same time, had kids at the same time, and they're kind of twins. They consider themselves to be twins. And
Mm-hmm.
something tragic happens, and I'm not going to give anything else away. But that's coming in 2025. I'm excited about it. I also have a short film that I'm going to be in. I'm filming actually this weekend. A talented writer by the name of Kamaya Willoughby is the writer and director, and I'm excited. And it's called Pound Cake. And remember Pound Cake because this is a very talented young woman out
Mm-hmm.
of Loyola Marymount, and I'm starring in it. My character's name is Dottie, and it's about an older woman who has to step out of the box after her husband dies and she's about to lose her home. And I'm excited for to do this piece. It's a short, it's a proof of concept
Okay.
wherein it will be presented in film festivals in the hopes of getting investors to do the full length feature. But I'm blown away by this woman, Kamaya Willoughby, her writing, the way she writes, how she's laid this out and mapped this out. And so we're going to be filming that this weekend, Pound Cake. So I'm excited. You'll be able to follow it along on
I will.
short on Instagram. The Instagram handle was Pound Cake Short. Um,
Okay.
I believe that's it. But if they just check my page, Alretha Thomas.
Yeah.
AlrethaThomas.com, you can go there and see all my, where you can find me on social media. Uh,
Yeah.
Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, AlrethaThomas.com. You can
Okay.
find me there, all my social media pages.
Okay. I was getting ready to ask you how can everybody find your the pound cake and all the everything
Yeah.
that you're doing so we can follow along. You done told them. See, look at that. We ready.
I know, we ready, she ready.
That's right. I appreciate this conversation with you. We are out of time. I want to thank you for coming to the show and sharing your story with us and allow me to share a little bit of mine with you.
Thank you for having me, Kate, and
Thank
God
you.
bless. And I'm excited about the year, what God has in store for all of us this year.
Me too. I received that, and I am excited for you and everything with all of us. What we have coming,
Yes,
what God has for us is going to be phenomenal.
that part.
Have you again on one of my other
Thank
shows?
you.
You know, we got a lot of them.
Thank you. All right. Take
Okay,
care.
thank you. You take
God
care
bless.
as well.